in early recovery right now and you're thinking, Corey, that sounds great, but it's never going to happen. Don't think like that. You have to think positive. You really do. And it's hard sometimes coming off a relapse. A friend of ours just kind of reaching out. And first I was like, hey, man, I want to help out as much as I can. But then there comes the factor of, okay, why aren't they listening? And then, I was trying to think back of, well, I remember calling people and reaching out, and I didn't do that very often. So when I did, it was serious, and I didn't refuse the help. When people would come over and tell me I needed the help, I'm good. Mm-hmm. I still have $50. I'm not done yet. Mm-hmm. But when I did reach out, I really did need the help, and I took it. So for some people, it's a game, I guess, almost, like to try to get what they want and try to use it and manipulate. And I don't know if this person was doing that or not, and I don't really care. If someone still calls and says they need help, I will try to help them as much as I can. But at the same time,
they have to really want it. They have to really, truly want it. Mm-hmm. And taking the first step is the most important by reaching out. You're right. I agree with you. And this individual does want help and needs help and knows that they do. Whether they're ready or not, that's only they can decide that. You can walk them to the friggin' door if you want to, if you can get them there that far. But I mean, at one point you got to let go of their hand, and it's up to them whether they decide if they're going to stick around or not. And it's gotten to the point where, like, I think for the example that you're speaking of, it's like we can listen and we can be grateful that they've reached out, and we can say we're proud of them and want to, do everything that we can to help, but you can't, it's not about convincing, I guess, because no. I was in the spot before. I'm sure you were too, where you're sitting in that chair and you're like, yeah, I know I'm fucked. I know I'm messed up, and I know I need help. And then they're like, well, this is what you have to do next. And you're like, I don't need help that bad. Like, I don't know about that right now. And plus you're in that spot where you're feeling like crap, and you're low on booze, or you don't have your drug or whatever it is. And it feels like it's the end of the world. And, does it take that much to take it to the next step, to get to the ER, to get you to rehab or what have you? I mean, that's just the start. I mean, the whole journey in itself it's not like one piece, and there's no right way to do it. There's no way to like walk you through how people get to, every day. People who have 35 years, it's just tomorrow they'll have 35 years in one day.
Right.
It's not like there's no graduation, there's no finish line. It's not like there's some magical anything where you're like, I mean, there's some probably, you're more developed or have established, your lifestyle to where you're not as susceptible, I guess, to a relapse. But that doesn't mean that you're completely, like, you're never going to be completely immune to it.
Right. And just going to treatment is not going to cure you either.
Exactly.
Like, if that person gets into a treatment,
yeah,
that's cool, but that person's been in treatment before. And my advice from someone who's been to these places, and I'll say their name, Pine Rest in Grand Rapids, they are a dual diagnosis. They treat the mental and the addiction part, and I think that is huge, because the mental, in my opinion, again, not a doctor, it goes hand in hand. The things that I were running from, the things I didn't even realize, and as much as I wanted to play things off like, yeah, I'm good, I'm happy, I'm good, it's good, there were issues that I just couldn't get deep enough in my own ego to allow myself to understand what was really wrong. And until I was able to process that, I was lost cause. But those places that I had gone to, and it was the mental part of it that really had kind of kick-started my, let's dig into this. And there's nothing wrong with being on medication. You know, they put me on Zoloft because, you know, coming off alcohol like that, it's going to bring you down. You're going to go into a depression. That's just what happens. You know, your dopamine levels and everything like that just kind of go wacky for a minute. And that's why when you first quit drinking, like the first couple weeks, you start feeling better. And you just feel like, man, I can take on the world. It's because that dopamine's like, woo, we got to make some more. And then it doesn't, your brain and your body, it's not making the same level. And then it just drops off and you're just like, boo. And that's when you hit the wall or whatever they call it. And no, they do call it the wall. But for me, it was Zoloft. I mean, it could be different for everybody. I guess they have testing out there that they'll test you to see which one, you know, that you are genetically.
It's expensive.
Or you just do like I did, just keep trying all kinds of stuff. No, but the Zoloft did work best for me. And of course I had side effects, which I didn't like. So I immediately quit taking it, but I got back on it eventually. And it really did make a difference. And it wasn't on a high dose, but it helped big time. And, you know, just doing those little things that, of course, I didn't want to do. I didn't need to do that. I didn't need to do sober living until I did, you know, and probably one of the greatest things that ever happened to me. And, yeah, did I have to live with a bunch of dudes for a while? Yeah. But there were worse things to do. And it really gave me a sense of belonging. You know, I'm not friends with everybody that, you know, I lived with. You know, there are people there that I just didn't like, and I just chose not to talk to them. Just like everyday life, you know, people at work you don't like, you don't talk to them. Sometimes you have to, but just be cordial, you know, and go about your day and do your thing. But yeah, it was one of those things that just the bonding experience and, you know, getting into that routine that you were talking about earlier about going to meetings and doing this and doing that. And next thing you know, it's the second nature. And going to a meeting isn't a bad thing. I don't go to a meeting, got to get your 5 in, you know, for the week. No, hey, we always hit this meeting. We always do this. You know, it's Saturday night. You know, let's go to Charlevoix. Let's hit Charlevoix Pizza Company afterward and do a podcast. Those kind of things became the norm. And not doing them felt weird.
Yeah.
You know, and it was just a great, great time and a great experience. So, again, fortunately for me, I didn't kill anybody. It took what it took, and I was able to get into a great place and follow the rules. You know, I made my bed. I did what I need to do, and you think, wow, you're a 40-year-old man. You had to make your bed. No, I'm going to tell me what to do. Well, sometimes they need to tell you what to do, and then they shouldn't tell you what to do. You get up and you make your damn bed. You know, I mean, you're 40 years old. You can get up and make your bed. You know, you're living in this place for damn cheap. You don't have to pay any, like, bills. You just, you know, pay the sober living expense, which at that time was $375 a month. People are like, they'd be freaking out. What? And the house was nice, and it was a nice area. And like I said, I was truly blessed to land where I landed and, you know, to go to that Chinese restaurant in Boyne Falls and, you know, the few people there that were good. And I'm thankful that I had all that experience with Pine Rest, you know, with the dual diagnosis. And, you know, Pine Rest, their Redwood unit, they only have 22 or 26 beds in that unit. So it's not huge, but you can get in there with Medicaid. Now, if you have private insurance, there's a place that we went to a couple weeks ago in Augusta called Skywood Recovery. I would highly recommend that. Chris and I toured it, and it's an amazing facility. I was jealous. Like when I went to California the first time, you know, Skywood Recovery, as I mentioned before, it wasn't open yet. So that wasn't even an option for me. But oh my gosh, I would have been spoiled. I mean, it's set up like almost like the inside. It's like almost like an apartment building almost, but inside, and not like a rundown apartment building either. Like they got little windows, and I don't know. It's pretty cool. It's really cool actually, and it's on an old golf course in Augusta. And yeah, if you got private insurance, or you know someone who does, or you know maybe talk to your church and do private pay with them. That's a good one too. So, like I said, Pine Rest doesn't have that many beds in their Redwood unit, but you know, look into the mental part of it because that is a huge factor. I mean, there's a reason. I mean, drinking was fun for a minute, but then it became a medicine. You know, I think it's a Kid Rock. I don't know. Somebody has a song about getting their medicine or something. I used to like, yeah, it's my medicine. You know, I kind of joke about it, and
I'd say that too. I would say I'm drinking for medicinal purposes only, or whatever. Yeah. Everything was for medicinal purposes.
Because I was trying to numb something. I was trying to hide from something.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be that way, though.
Exactly.
So you got 6 months. Mm-hmm. How you living?
Living clean. Loving it. Everything's really good, you know. I don't know. Like I said, I think why I stress so much about my concern about people in early recovery or in general is because idle time was never a good thing for me. When I had pieced together bits of time, when I would fail was always when I found myself with idle time. So, like, in fact, I'm shocked. Like, my mom even asked me, like, today, you know, like, how are you doing with everything, you know, like, all these different changes and, you know, my body and everything, and just, like, with work and, I don't know, the whole thing, I was like, you know what, I'm good. And I can say that and actually I'm being honest, being completely honest. And, I mean, because I have no reason to lie anymore. Like, that's a beautiful thing. It's kind of weird. Because it seems like all the time, like, I'd get to the point where I'm like, I could remember what lies I told who. Oh, God. And, you know, like, what did I tell this person about whatever? And shit. Oh, crap. Sorry. So, and I don't have to live like that anymore. And it's a beautiful thing. And the people that ask me questions like this, it's not because they're trying to dig for any kind of particular answer. It's because they care about me, you know? Mm-hmm. And it's awesome. And so, and if there was something going on, I would tell them about it. And that's another thing. And that's why I'm talking about the support system thing is like, you know, and why I bring it up like this is not because I'm like foreseeing any kind of disaster or anything for any individuals. Like you said, like a friend of mine or whatever. It's not. It's like an overall just like, I don't know what I would do if I didn't have what I have right now. You know what I mean? And that scares me for the people that don't have that. And I guess for anybody who's listening is that I hope that you do have that sort of support. And it's out there. I mean, anybody that goes to any meetings, any number that you've ever written down, those people probably need you just as much as you need them. Don't be afraid to make those phone calls. Don't be afraid to send a quick text. You know, go to our website. Go on Facebook and, you know, I forget the names of, are we allowed to talk about those? The other website or whatever? The pages that people follow, like Sober.
Yeah, talk about whatever you want.
Oh, no, I can't remember the name of it right now. The Sober group or whatever. Anyway,
think about that.
I will. I'll think about it and get back to you. But anyway, where people post about like their daily sober like quotes and stuff, like inspirational stuff. I don't think that was funny, Corey.
It was a little late.
Now it's funny, but
yeah, Anna has one too. You know, a Facebook that she does. You know, and I don't post on ours as much, but
it's just all I'm saying is to like utilize the strengths and that you have built up to get you to where you are right now, and to hold on to that and to share that with the recovery community. You know what I mean? And to keep your chin up. And people need that positivity. You know, there's so much negative, so much, oh my God, the world is a disaster. And you know what? We don't know that. We don't. And like I said before, I don't remember, you asked me a couple days ago, like, I'm just going to keep on doing me. And Like, that's all I can do.